Well, guys, I was going to do this as a live, but I didn't realize that I'm restricted from going live right now. Not even sure what violation I did that brought those charges upon me, but you can bet that they were administered by the Biden regime's DOJ. Since this is my profession, I really feel compelled to speak out about it. Donald Trump was denied his constitutional right to due process. When you're charged with a crime, you have an initial appearance, and you and your lawyer have to appear in front of the judge, and the judge says, these are the charges against you. How do you plead? And you say, not guilty, obviously. Did that ever happen? Presumably not, because nobody even knew until closing arguments what the supposed charges against him were. And we're still not really clear on it because we did a lot of legal gymnastics to get to the point to even bring this trial to fruition. So how can you defend yourself and build a defense when you don't even know exactly what you're being charged with? Okay, this is all so unconstitutional. To refresh everybody's memory, it started with supposedly he falsified business records, which is a misdemeanor and has a 2-year statute of limitations. The way they got around that is by claiming that the misdemeanor was committed in effort to cover up another crime, which was a felony. But we still weren't sure quite what that other crime was, but at least that got them around the statute of limitations. So of course, then you have to ask, like, what crime was he trying to cover up? Nobody really knows, but apparently it was some kind of federal election crime, which this was a trial in state court. State court does not have jurisdiction to proceed with prosecuting federal crimes. That's not how it works. It would have to be before a federal judge. That's just not how any of this works, but yet somehow they were allowed to get away with it. Congratulations, the justice system is officially fucking trash. This brings me to the jury instructions. Do not even get me started. Okay, the verdict done got me started. I've assisted in drafting lots of jury instructions, lots. Jury instructions are drafted as an if-then type of scenario. Like, if you believe this, or if there's evidence to show this, then you must find this. It's always an if-then, okay? And there's always, if there's multiple charges or multiple counts, it's always, if this, then you must find guilty or not guilty on count whatever. Okay, they're written very idiot-proof because juries are made up of lay people who don't understand the law. It's very foolproof. But when there's no specific charges listed, and when the judge specifically tells you, you don't have to agree on what crime he committed. So long as you believe that he committed a crime, then you all should find him guilty. It's so unconstitutional. I can't even wrap my head around the bullshit that has been allowed to take place and fly for us to even get to this point. Yet here we are. There is specific case law that says that this is not constitutional. I think it's a 1999 case. It's Richardson versus the United States. And it specifically says that not only do you have to find that there's a series of underlying events and crimes that were committed, but you have to specifically state what series of underlying events and crimes were committed to get us where we are now. And none of that is being followed. The judge blatantly disregarded that in his instructions to the jury. Not to mention that this payment that this whole thing stems from was administered after he already won the election and was president of the United States. So how can he be charged with trying to sway an election that he had already won? Like, nothing about this makes sense. Nothing about this follows our Constitution. And here's the problem. All the liberals out there are going to be like, oh, this chick's just over here simping for Trump. No, I'm simping for the justice system. This is my profession. I have a reason to care. And you all should have a reason to care too, because you live here. The Constitution of the United States is what grants us all the freedoms we have that make us different than every other country. The reason you liberals are able to hate the United States, the reason you do hate the United States, is because you're legally allowed to under the Constitution. You're so dumb, you can't get out of your own way long enough to realize that everything you think you hate about this country is only enabled because of the unique rights that we have. When we start throwing the Constitution out the window, you guys think it's great now because it's aimed at somebody that the media told you that you're supposed to hate. Do you think it's not going to turn on you? It absolutely will turn on you. Pick up any history book, read about the history of any socialist, communist country. Read about what their government did when they were leading up to taking power. Read about the things that were happening leading up to them and their total demise, their complete collapse. We are there. Wake up. And you're doing it. You're applauding it. The whole reason it's happening is because you're pushing it. A great example of this is perjury. Perjury used to mean something in the United States. You get up on the stand, you hold up your right hand, you put your hand on the Bible, whatever, and you say, "I swear to tell the truth, so help me God." Those words used to mean something. People used to actually fear saying those words out loud, pledging that oath on the Bible, and then getting on the stand and lying. So they didn't lie. It was actually effective at one point in history. Now we've lost sight of having a higher power and the importance of that, and everything's gone to shit. Nobody cares. It is evident you can get on the stand and perjure yourself, and it does not matter. Perjury is supposed to be a felony. It's listed as a felony in our code of laws. Fannie Willis, Nathan Wade blatantly got on the stand and committed perjury. Nobody cares. Michael Cohen, he's committed perjury to literally every governing body available to him in the United States. And yet here we are convicting a former president based off of the words of a liar. This is officially the end of the United States as we've all known it and loved it. And the liberal agenda and the weak-mindedness of the left-leaning people who have allowed the Biden regime and the powers that be to infiltrate their brains and convince them that this was all a good idea, you guys are directly at fault. Good job. The good news, if you're still with me, is that this will never stand on appeal. For all the reasons I just listed, for all the kangaroo court, banana republic, legal gymnastics crap that I just explained, this will never stand on appeal. Aren't you glad, New Yorkers? Aren't you glad that you wasted your tax dollars paying for the jury and the prosecutors and the judge and everything going on in this case when illegal immigrants are like beating the shit out of people on the sidewalk and getting released the next day? I'd be super excited if I lived in that state. Anyway, I think that this just guaranteed Donald Trump's re-election because hell hath no fury like a maggot scorned.